Well, hello. My friends, hello. Let's see if we can get a single freaking person in here because I'm excited to be here today. It is CyberBuzz Radio. Let's just get a feel for whether or not people are going to show up and we're going to have a good one today. All right. So, listen, I am not even 100% sure that the chat spam fired. It did. Okay, cool. So, if it's just me here today, then that's no problem. But I've got some good music. I got some stuff I want to talk about. And I'm looking forward to kind of getting people up here and entertaining all of you. So, if you were here for Thursday, then you would have known that things were tired, things were rough. I've been at conferences all week, and it's been a hell of a go. It has, friends. And so finally, I'm a little bit more caught up on my sleep, and some of you actually did manage to hang out with me during my presentation at the Web3 conference, which was excellent. And so I thought we could talk a little bit about that, some of the topics, some of the other presenters. I've got some fun stuff on the docket today, including sort of pass-through camera tech for VR, and then a lot of synthwave music. So the hope is that just maybe, baby, we could get some people in here, we could get some people entertained, and CyberBuzz will be, not just a quiet hum, but a little bit more of a buzz indeed. So as of right now, we're just kind of kicking it, and I'm hoping, praying, possibly. Thank you, Party Ogre. Thank you. It's quiet in the Discord today, and so it's always tricky for me to understand depending on where people are hanging out. But I could see some people on the YouTube. I could see some people on Twitch, Trovo, Theta. It's just Discord today that's quiet. Why is that? What's going on? Hey, Lamb, not quite first, but pretty close, maybe? It's good because here I was thinking I was going to be in an echo chamber all alone. Not the things that you want to start your day with, is it? No, not even a little bit. So here's the deal. I've got lots of stuff. What are your thoughts on the trucker convoy? Oh, are we going straight into politics? Even though literally the whole point of this show is to just kind of avoid some of that bullshit? Yeah, we can. My thoughts on the trucker convoy are good for them. Honestly, it's very nice to see sort of things that have come together and have really inspired a lot of people. I know a lot of Canadians are frustrated about it too. I feel like around me, overwhelmingly, most people are like, hey, great, absolutely, get out, use your constitutional right to gather and to express your opinion. And there's definitely sort of this feeling of solidarity. But there are a lot of people who, whether or not it's just they're really, really into consuming mainstream media or whatever, they feel really betrayed by this, or they feel really hurt by this or whatever. And I think that's a valid viewpoint too. It's not necessarily one that I agree with. I mean, the people who are like, these are Nazis descending on Parliament to take it over. And it's like, well, I don't know that that's really a fair assertion in any way, shape, or form. But, I try to avoid getting too political on these shows because I can see where everybody on the spectrum right now, why they're feeling the way they feel. I probably don't agree with the vast majority of them, but I mean, I have empathy. So for me, I'm super glad. I'm super glad to see the truckers doing their thing. And I'm definitely a bit disappointed in the reporting around it as of today, because of course there's a lot of selective stuff from both sides, which is, unfortunately, you cannot separate from media bias. It's impossible. Somebody who is passionate and in the convoy is going to present the picture that they are seeing. And, somebody who is of the firm belief that this is a harmful protest is obviously going to focus on, they're going to try and find a video of like the fringe of a crowd and say, look, there's only 10 people here. It's tough in today's day and age. I mean, Trudeau's already made a run for it, which is hilarious because there's no threats of violence. There's really, there's nothing right now that indicates that he has any reason to do so, but he has. So it'll unfold over the day, and it will probably be quite interesting as time goes on to continue to see what happens. But to be quite honest, I prefer I prefer a world where people feel comfortable expressing how they feel and doing it in what is a positive and safe way. And right now, that's absolutely what the convoy is. And that's the Canada I want to live in. And I want people who feel upset about the convoy to feel okay in their ability to express that opinion as well. And as long as neither side is stifled and neither side is, being violent or being abusive, then A++ would truck again. So that's all I want to say about it, because, it's not that these aren't important topics, and especially for the world right now. The world's looking at Canada and going, oh, the hosers, what are they doing over there? And I get that. But certainly the point of this show is sort of an idea that we get to talk about some of the other positive and negative stuff that revolves around tech and also blockchain. And there are plenty current events shows. I would hope that when I do get a few of you in here for some entertainment, that you do sort of leave this show with some positivity and feeling a little good and feeling a little jazzed up, and you listen to some good music and you had a good time. And, for a little bit, maybe we could but maybe we could shift our focus, because I feel like 2 years of focus has been on this topic. And while it is important and it's impacting the entire fuck off world, it's all right for us to have opinions and thoughts and hopes and fears that aren't tied to COVID. Honestly, it's okay. We can do that. So, I'm sure people are mad that I'm not more focused on it. And I know that often it is what it is. But yeah, what's my zodiac sign? You probably could guess very, very easily, to be honest. Most people around the Neenernets do know my birthday. So I'm interested to know what your guess is, but I will tell you. I'm not sure why the Discord's so quiet today. And I mean, maybe it's just a Saturday. Everybody's glued to their TVs, or maybe it's because we're starting to see the first vestiges of winter crack open. And maybe, just maybe, it's that nobody really wants to listen. But for those of you who are here, I'm stoked. I'm going to entertain you. And I have lots of good music for you. But it is a weird one. It's quiet. And I've noticed this across all of my Discords, all of my forums, all of the places that people are hanging out. It's a quiet one. No, I'm not an Aries. I'm a Leo. So maybe that's very obvious. Maybe it isn't. Yeah, maybe Leo. I am a Leo. I feel like I'm a very stereotypical Leo, although I don't really know that much about astrology and whatnot. So people always say we're really stupid, full of ourselves, and really vain. And I don't think I'm that. But you know what? If you were super vain, would you know you were super vain? Maybe you'd be like, maybe you'd be like a Trump, where you'd be like, humble, I'm the most humble. I'm not even vain. You've never even seen vain. I'm the humblest. I'm telling you how humble I am. I don't know. Oh, goodness. All right. So here's the deal. One of the coolest topics that I think is out there right now, because of course, everybody and everything is VR and metaverse hate now. And you know what? Is it that surprising? It's not that surprising. Honestly, it isn't. The metaverse, especially since it's been taken over, essentially, let's be realistic. Facebook went out of its way to just be like, yeah, we're the metaverse now. Fuck all of you. The whole metaverse that's existed for years, and the crypto space and all the people in it and all of the cool projects that are kind of underpinning the metaverse. No, we're the metaverse. Look at me. Look at me. I'm the metaverse now. So, I mean, I get it. The normies that are starting to hear about this are like, no, this is bad. The metaverse is bad. No, it's shitty. Therefore, VR is also shitty. And you know what? If VR is shitty, then everything else is shitty around it. But if you guys remember, there was a little while back where I put together a whole show talking about, hey, Johnny, good to see you. Been a little bit. it's been a little bit since I talked about this topic, but we were discussing what are some cool, helpful things that we can do, not just with virtual reality, but with augmented reality. And that day, we were talking a lot about sort of training especially. And over the course of the show, we've looked at a lot of different types of VR and AR technology that essentially kind of help you interpret the real world. And this topic often gets people really going in chat because the more that we talk about the interpretation of the real world through a digital lens, the more people are like, this is where the bad stuff happens. And you know what? You're not wrong. Like, do we really want that sort of Minority Report-esque style world where, everything you look at has a digital overlay on it and you're fed different types of information, or, you can't assess a situation without digital help? There's lots of sort of pitfalls to VR and AR, but over the course of this show, we've talked a lot about really cool things like programs where if you sit down at a piano and there's some augmented reality, instead of, say, reading sheet music or starting to understand, say, tablature, there is a projection of notes or things like that to help you learn how to play an instrument, for example. I mean, Lord knows all of us have played something like Guitar Hero in the past or Rock Band. And so the idea of all these notes kind of flowing towards you and you matching them, and I can play guitar now. Of course you can't. But what if you could? What if you could turn that into something more immersive? And what if you could turn that into a skill? Some of you guys might remember Rocksmith. That was the point of Rocksmith. Rocksmith was actually a program that went along with your real guitar. So instead of Guitar Hero and your little clicky-clacky guitar, Rocksmith was a video game that you would actually use with a real guitar. And, as time went on, this is something that I think everybody kind of wishes worked, right? We all kind of wish there was that Matrix-esque aspect where you could find, I don't know, I don't have like a jack around here, but you could just plug something in and you're like, I know Kung Fu, right? All of us wish we could pick up a skill or, train for something, but have it be really fun and have it be sort of like a video game. And so that's kind of always been the focus of this show when we look at sort of VR and AR. Some really cool stuff, like you guys might remember, we talked about a augmented reality projector system that projected down onto a pool table and helped you sort of angle and bank shots in real time, and was this cool audio-visual projection onto the top of a pool table. So you're still out in real life. You're talking to real people. You're playing a real pool game. But then there sort of became this teaching aspect of it. Hi! Thank you! That's great! I love you! Fabulous! That makes me feel better because it is a little quiet today. So, I mean, if it's just us here and that's the way that you come rocking in, that's the way to go, man. Zodiacs. Hey, Trin. Good man. So... The Discord's hella empty today. I'm actually tempted to turn off this little bottom bar because you guys are all watching and listening at some of the other places. So I'm kind of tempted. Should I turn off your little floaty faces? Should I do that? That would be the first time ever. That'd be so sad. I'm not going to do it. We'll just have this one sad little floaty listener for now. But I actually have some ideas to get more people onto the screen, kind of taking a quick side note here. Lots of people do tend to watch on Twitch or Theta or Trovo or Vim TV or YouTube. And so they often don't get to be featured on the overlay. And I know that, chat is over here and you all get included that way. But I know that people wish their avatars showed more and people wish there was a way that they, could be included a little bit better. And I've got some ideas for it, but it basically means I have to start working with a bunch of the API for all of these different streaming programs and time. So, where was I going with this? Oh, right. Talking about augmented reality, training especially. Augmented reality that gamifies training and vocational skills. And I think I even talked, a couple weeks ago, we talked a bit about full virtual reality training and simulations. And we were talking about Microsoft Flight Simulator and how there are legitimately pilots out in the world who have done all of their training on Microsoft Flight Simulator and then gone out and gotten their pilot's license, which is terrifying and awesome. Think of that for a second. Imagine being someone who maybe can't afford to go to pilot school or can't, whatever the case may be, sitting at home, rocking out on Microsoft Flight Simulator and logging enough hours to qualify to go take a test and get your pilot's license. It's terrifying and awesome at the same time. So in any case, the reason that I bring this up today is because I've been sitting on this topic for a little bit and kind of collecting things in the background. I wanted to talk about some of the sort of expansion of AR technology. And the one that most people are most familiar with these days, let's be very realistic. The AR technology that most people are familiar with is Pokemon Go. Like, it's so silly, but we forget that that is absolutely fully AR. And we forget sort of some of the beginnings of AR around the web. And that was a lot of horror games, a lot of immersive sort of HTML style games. You know, you used to like watch a video and then there'd be like some hint, there'd be a website address and you'd be like, oh, and you'd go Google that website address and you'd go there. It would actually be, oh my God, it would actually be a real website. And then you would start digging through the source code of them. Do you guys remember these? These sorts of rudimentary augmented reality companions to go alongside entertainment or whatnot. You know, there's been shades of this for a long time. Hey, Creo, thank goodness people are starting to show up, but the Discord remains weirdly empty. What's going on today? It's a strange one. Oh, there we go. Creo takes the challenge and pops up down below in the listener bar. Good man. There you are. Look, there's Creo. So, in any case, don't apologize for not being here. There's plenty of you, and I'm happy to have those of you who are here. But we were just talking about, it's a little strange today. It's quiet. Everywhere is quiet. Do you think the whole world is just... Are we finally fed up? Are we all watching sort of what's happening in Canada with like bated breath? What's happening right now? But it doesn't matter. Wherever you might be, whatever you're doing for your Saturday is A-okay, good enough for me. So talking about these sort of rudimentary forms of AR, of augmented reality, they're not full virtual reality, right? And so the one that kind of is probably most relevant at this exact second is Pokemon Go, right? And that is such a perfect example that people often take for granted. They're ripping on AR and VR. They're saying that this is scary and, you know, it undermines reality and whatnot. But I don't know that there is another game that has captured the imaginations of people young to old, has gotten more people out walking, exploring, meeting up. Like, it's the dumbest thing, and at the same time, it's a great idea. It's so simple, and it's a very fascinating look into people's willingness and actual desire for augmented reality gaming and augmented reality programs. We're very willing to adopt it. We just haven't found enough cool ones yet, and we haven't quite dispersed them. And I don't know, do you guys think it has to come with a popular brand? Hi, Croft! Do you think it has to come with a popular brand to finally be adopted? I don't know. I mean, everybody knows what Pokemon is. Everybody. Let's be real, man. So, you know, I had a couple sort of demo videos and stuff that I wanted to show you today from some really cool pass-through camera ideas. Now, pass-through cameras are often used in virtual reality. So what I'm talking about, for example, with my trusty old Oculus here, is, let's clean that bad boy up, is if you look on the camera here, or on the camera, on the video feed, you can see these cameras mounted to the outside of the Oculus. Now, we've talked about this before in how this technology works and how this technology was a real game changer, right? Ooh, I've blown myself out here. This was a game changer because before this, you would put this on your face and then you would have sensors mounted all around the room, right? And those sensors would do all the work. Is that a wireless one? Yes, it is. Absolutely. So the Oculus Quest was the first sort of really mass-produced, widely marketed wireless VR headset. And to be fair, till like sort of this day and age, it is still the most popular and the furthest ahead wireless headset. And that's going to be the biggest deal. So the old sort of style was you would put a headset on and you would have already got wired sensors in all of the corners of your room. And they would look down and kind of like the way a cell tower works, they would sense the headset, they would sense where your controllers were, and those, sort of sensors up in the corners would triangulate you. They'd figure out where are you in the room, they would figure out what you're doing, where you're facing, and so the headset would constantly be talking to these other sensors, and you're wired, and there'd be sort of a central computing unit, and that was how it used to be. Then the Oculus came along, and this style of headset is totally different. There are no sensors out there that are picking up this headset. This headset is doing it all. And so when I'm talking about pass-through technology, and for those of you who are listening and not watching, no problem. But so on the front of the Oculus, there are 4 cameras that are mounted right in the headset. And so what the headset does is instead of having information relayed from another sensor outside of the unit, the headset's actually looking at the room. And so this always scares people, and rightly so, fair enough. But the idea is that the Oculus is seeing the room in real time. You aren't seeing the room, but these cameras are. And there are games and there are sort of times when you're setting up the Oculus and things like that, where they're using these cameras in a pass-through method. And it's very similar to the AR that you would use on your phone or your tablet, where these cameras show you the world. It's kind of like your vision is passing directly through the headset. And so this is where augmented reality especially kind of gets a huge boost, because these cameras are showing you what you're actually seeing. Your room, your desk, your wall, the tree outside your house, whatever. And it's constantly calculating on the fly. And what that means is you can start overlaying things on top of the actual reality that you're in. And pass-through camera technology on the Oculus right now, it's not that great. But it's because it really hasn't been that explored yet. Until now, with the new headsets, with the Valve and many of the other sort of headsets that are coming out that are all adopting this method, this sensorless method to make it easier for people to pick up and use VR. Big, cool, interesting. Yeah, you know what? The tag's already been pinged twice, Creo. I don't know why that is. It's wild, but you know what? People have got stuff to do today. So you guys are here. You're who's getting a talk. But anyways, the reason that I bring this up is I want to show you some videos today and some cool ideas using a pass-through camera system, because we've already started understanding what that looks like with mobile technology, right? Like we are used to the idea of I'm looking at something with my phone, but on my screen, I'm seeing something that's a totally different augmented reality. We're not as used to that with headsets yet, but it's changing. And the capabilities of these headsets are quite a bit higher than, well, some phones, not all. Everything is so high tech now. All right. So with that, I'm going to grab the first song. I'm going to play a bit of music. I'm going to get the overlay going. Hopefully, we'll find a couple more people. I'm going to double check that all of the streams look good, but it seems like everything's awesome. And then we'll talk a little bit more about this topic and whatever you guys want to talk about. I've been getting a lot of requests for my talk from the conference this week. I don't have it recorded, but I guess potentially if we want to include that into today's show, I can watch it here and cast it out, and you can watch or listen depending on where you are. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think, to be quite honest, I don't know if I could stand listening to my own voice for 20 minutes. I don't know how you guys do it. You are the real MVP. So let's grab some music. Oh, thanks, Creo. It's not a big deal. You know what? Often my shows are just bumping and people are coming from all over the place. So on the days that people have other stuff to do, no problem. It is just a little eerie. It's a little eerie. I like seeing a busy chat like, oh, this. But then also, hi, Dibblers. But then down here is quiet. There's just, I'm used to a lot of little floaty faces down here. So maybe I've finally driven you guys all away. Maybe that's it. Maybe we finally hit the wall. Darn it, Crimson Clad. Darn it! For Johnny, it's 7:30 a.m. Yeah. So, okay, 7:30 a.m. for you. You're an Aussie, right? So you are actually like a whole day in the future almost. It's... Ah! Hi, Dibblers. Thanks. So In any case, let's get at least one track playing. I've got some cool new music for you today, and then we will kind of move forward from there. We'll talk a little bit more about some of this cool augmented reality, especially having some of it utilizing pass-through cameras and being evolved for sort of wearable VR and AR. That's a little bit further beyond what we just know. And where it's going next, and some of the cool stuff that's really simple. And even some of this technology that's just being added to properties and games that we already know and like, and what that looks like. Otherwise, yes, we could talk a little bit about blockchain. We could talk a little bit about Hive. I'm hoping to avoid sharing my talk from the conference. I'll share a link maybe if I can find it, but I don't want to listen to myself because I know what that looked like in the background, and I know how tired I was. So, Good. Let's do some music. What do I have for you? I have quite a few different things, and I'm trying to decide where to start. And I think I'm going to start with Daniel Deluxe. I love Daniel Deluxe, sort of an old school name in the horror synth scene, and a lot of really great albums over time. Just a classic. And in fact, when I really first started doing this show, and this show way back when, we don't say the name a lot, but way back when, this show may have been called Synthwave Radio. Way back when I was really doing a lot of tech talking and a lot of blockchain centric, information. I was helping newbies. Yes, the S word. I was helping newbies really understand the technology that underpins. She said the word. It's like that scene from Labyrinth where they're all waiting for her to say, where they're all waiting for her to say that she wishes the baby was gone. And she said it. All right. I'm just waiting for David Bowie to bust through a wall and be juggling his balls in my face. Let's do the music. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Where I was going was I've played a lot of Daniel Deluxe over the years. He makes really good music. It's very enjoyable. He does cool horror synths. And I'm going to play you a track called Combat Ready. My name is Crimson Clad. This is CyberBuzz Radio. It's a quiet Saturday morning. We're going to rock out. We're going to have some good synthwave music and some great discussion on weird, cool pass-through camera technology in VR and AR. And whatever else you guys want to talk about. Yes, everybody's just now fully like, ooh, 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 David Bowie's bulge. Yes, he indeed is the man that just fell to earth, man. Boom. Okay, so everybody else, get your balls in a, I was going to say, get your poop in a group. Get your balls in a, what rhymes with balls? I don't know. We'll figure it out later. Get them? Got them? Good? All right, let's do it. Daniel Deluxe on CyberBuzz Radio. Another Russian bot. What? How? Why? Why do they love me so much? I don't know that I could even be that mad about it, all considered. But it's all right. It's all right. I'll delete them. I'll get rid of them. My name is Crimson Clad, and this is indeed CyberBuzz Radio. And we are talking a little bit today about VR, AR, pass-through cameras, yada, 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 so forth, so on, augmented reality. And the fact is, this is not something that we're seeing a ton of just yet. We're used to it with our phones and our tablets. We've talked a lot about it and how cool it is when, we're seeing sort of these augmented reality, virtual reality applications where your camera is showing the actual world, but digitally you are having a new reality overlaid on top, or VR experiences that are meshed up with the world around you. And so this is really cool, and it's never really been possible before. But now, since we are moving to the world of wireless VR headsets and headsets that indeed have cameras on them, you have to have this data, right? You must collect this information. The cameras on the front must work. Hey, Shadows Pub, good to see you. You got to have those cameras on the front to actually be able to tell where you are in space, where your hands are, or whatever the case, because hand tracking is now becoming common. There's less using controllers and there's more using our actual bodies. And all of this information has to be collected with headset cameras. So if you're already collecting that information, what becomes possible with that information? What can you do with it? What can you make happen? Since you're already collecting this info, you may as well use it to do something cool. Hey, Shadows Pub. So just before the break and before I played that last track, it's got a bit of oomph to it. Hey, Marky, good to see you. I don't know where everybody's watching, but I know there are people all over the place. And yes, we were talking about the David Bowie ball juggle VR without controllers. Absolutely. If you're already doing hand tracking, why couldn't I make a program where I'm as cool as David Bowie in Labyrinth and you could virtually put a ball on my hand and I would never be able to drop it. I would look amazing. See, here we are busting through great ideas. CyberBuzz Radio, as per usual. This is where the future of tech is being born. Hey, Eddie. Hi, lots of people hopping in now. So obviously, very serious nonsense in here. But at the start of the show, we were talking about how a lot of people are understanding AR and VR through the context of essentially Pokemon Go. That is the wider world's sort of, I get it when we talk about AR and VR. But it's becoming more common, right? I don't know, because nobody's... Let's be realistic. Nobody's really traveling anymore, but for a while there, we are starting to move further and further into the VR and AR educational space. So we've talked a little bit on this show about NFTs and, physical artworks that have a digital component, something like the Art of Eve app or many of the apps out there now where, you may have either a 3D asset or you may have a physical piece of art, and by using your phone and scanning that in real time, you'll get either information, it could link to a audio track, you could take something that you have from a website and project it, into reality on your phone where you're around. Lots of options, but Pokemon Go is sort of like the central nexus of where that's happening and how most people understand what's possible with this technology. But I want to show you guys some stuff that is up and coming and kind of happening with this pass-through camera stuff because it's really fascinating. The Oculus Quest, as I keep mentioning, this was sort of the first headset to really do this. And people have both Quest 1 and Quest 2. But the Valve Index is coming out. There are a number of other headsets now that have the full camera sort of setup and will be able to use this technology. But I wanted to show you guys some cool tech demos and some cool ideas. because this is really going to change the way that we traditionally sort of think about what could happen. And AR apps are probably going to become really, really prevalent, not just only in sort of the training space and the gaming space, but probably in other types of industries as well. So yeah, OVR is exactly that. Frankly, they are essentially an augmented reality platform. And I actually wonder, if something as simple as even some of the assets from Deluxe could be blockchain based and pulled into potentially virtual reality programs as well. There's lots of cool stuff, but yes, OVR is very simple and very cool, and is very much exactly that. Blockchain based, an ETH, is it an ETH token, a Polygon token? I don't fucking know. But yes, exactly that idea. And so one of the reasons that I bring this up is because for a lot of people, hi, more people are jumping in and are now showing up down below. And like I say, for many of you, you only listen. You don't even watch the video feed. For a lot of you, you just listen to the radio. And so often when I discuss things, I often refer to what some people can see. And so I try to do a good job of explaining and remembering to explain without, what is it? It's not show, don't tell. It's tell, don't show. And then also sometimes show, maybe show. But let me show you, because there are already some cool stuff like Unity. Many of us are familiar with Unity because it is essentially like the program that most of us best understand in terms of in terms of sort of getting our feet wet and programming video games or things like that. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly transition us over to the browser here. Here's an example of an open source Unity package that is being used in real time. So here's an example of a Oculus headset. Hi, Tori. Wow. Long time. Wow. So cool to see you. But so for example, I'm on screen right now. I'm just showing off a live demo of a simple Unity plugin that can be used with a headset like the Oculus or the Vive or the Index or these up and coming color pass-through camera enabled headsets. So does it seem that fancy? No, not really, because of course we're already doing this with mobile devices. But we're not doing it with headsets yet. And stop and think about this for a second. So what we're actually seeing is someone walking forward down a hallway and a globe suspended in space, casting a shadow, casting light, moving in a 3D space and holding position relative to somebody's body. And the cool thing about this is it's exactly what's done in a phone. But the difference is a phone is 2D. Even a 3D asset, the phone only has to show you, hi, Mariano. A phone only has to show you one thing at a time. But the way that our brain works is very, very interesting. The way that we see 3D is essentially eyeball stereo. So one eye sees one angle, the other side sees another angle, and our brains smash it together on the fly. Now, in the past, when you had to go to a movie theater, do you remember those dumb glasses that you had to wear to see 3D? That was why, because you only had one screen that had to show you two different pictures, and you had to help your eyes understand which picture they needed to see. Here we are in the advent of VR, and this is what's actually happening inside headsets. And not everybody knows this because why? Maybe you're not interested in VR. But what actually happens is now finally, because the screens are stuck to your face, what they can do is show each eyeball a different image. And that's how VR works. That's how these headsets work. Now, the crazy thing is with a pass-through camera, you're actually getting 4 or more cameras worth of information. And the headset on the fly is grabbing it all, putting it all together, figuring out which eye needs to see what, and then doing that on the fly, grabbing the information from in front of you. Fucking wild when you think about it. It's wild that we can do it with our phones, but this is a whole nother ball game. So I know, literally, here's a ball, since we've been talking about David Bowie's balls. Here it is floating in space, but this is actually awesome. The fact that this is now pretty much available to anybody who uses Unity, the ability to create a 3D asset which understands physical space in real time from whatever information is being fed through pass-through cameras is incredible and really cool. And the possibilities for this are pretty much endless. Now, obviously, we all think of Pokemon Go, but can you think of some cool applications where this would be useful? Now, one of the things that's starting to happen these days, and let's just flip away from this now. One of the things that's starting to happen these days that's becoming more and more common is VR centers, where rather than stay at home and play, VR by yourself, it's always fun to play with somebody else's balls, you can go to VR centers and do war gaming or, immersive gaming where you have a giant empty green screened warehouse. Everybody gets some VR gear popped on, and then you go play a game with your friends in real time. You've got your bodies and your avatars and whatnot. That's really fun. I did one here in Vancouver that was Star Trek related, and it was actually super fun. Now, in this case, because of the way that VR works, obviously, they're giant empty warehouses and, often you are in a set area that you can't move beyond because, of course, there's no tracking and things like that. And it is the sort of old style where, VR tour guides, that's a great one, Lamb. That's a really cool one. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. So, if you've ever been to one, they usually draw a circle on the floor. They're the sensor type. The room is full of sensors. You've got your gear on. You've got a little rumble pack. Maybe you've got a cool gun extension or you've got some controllers. And that's the old style of these VR centers, is each person is calculated on the fly and the virtual reality is projected onto you, and you are sort of the only thing that's being considered is what you're doing inside a small confined space, and then virtual reality is built around you. But with pass-through cameras, this is going to change. Now think of things like paintball arenas. And if you're not a paintballer, who cares? But the idea is, or old laser tag arenas. Do you remember that? There were actual obstacles. There were, items. There were physical things in your way. There was a real environment that was created for you. And then what they would have to do is kind of zhuzh it up to make it feel like you're in space, right? This always manages to come up. I was a big laser tag, I want to say kid, but nope, I was a big laser tag adult right up till not even that long ago. Competitive laser tag. Nerd! But that was the jam is, you had the activity, you were running around, you were being physical, you were in this sort of different reality. But at the same time, it's very clearly a warehouse that's been painted, all black and then covered in UV reactive paint. They turn on some lights and they're like, space! Obviously. But now we're entering a time where we're going to start seeing VR experiences, things like escape rooms, things like competitive gaming, team gaming, exploration of environments where physical space can actually be reskinned, which is wild. That's wild. Think about that, where you can move freely around an actual physical warehouse full of, things, stairs you have to climb up or whatever. And when you take the headset off, obviously it's just nothing. But you put the headset on and the informational data, whether you're actually being shown what's in front of you or a new skin is being projected onto an actual physical space. This starts getting pretty crazy, and it's a really interesting thing. So I want to show you guys just quickly before we jump into another track, and then we hit the halfway point. We can talk about whatever you guys want. I wanted to show you a really simple example of this that I think is so cool. So hang on one sec here. I'm going to show you this, and I think it has sound, but I'm not going to turn the sound up. And so what I'm going to show you, I'm sorry, just listeners, but I'll describe it as it's happening. What I'm going to show you guys is something really neat. So what we're looking at here is the black and white visual that comes from a headset like, say, the Oculus. This is the camera that is available to you right now. And I think I should probably move this browser down just a a teeny tiny itty bitty bit here because it's a little bit off the screen. But you know what? It's fine. We'll figure it out. There's a whole screen one. That's not what we want. We want this one? Yeah, let's move this one down a little bit. But in any case, the reason that I'm bringing this up is on the screen here, it looks black and white, but what you're seeing is somebody's house. And I'm going to press play, and what this person is doing is playing Minecraft. Yeah, it does look like you're right. It looks like a crime scene. It looks like somebody, a block died here. Look at this, the chalk outline on the floor. But I'm going to press play in a second. And what this is somebody is playing Minecraft in real life. And what is happening is their headset on the fly is going to overlay Minecraft activities into their living room, exactly as their living room appears. So this is really cool. So here's the deal. They're moving around. They are laying cubes inside their house, which is crazy. They're finding free spaces on the floor that they can build in, digging a hole here, and then dropping things into the hole. This made my brain kind of hurt. So digging a hole in their floor in virtual reality, happening on the fly, being overlaid. And then actually in a second, they're going to jump into this hole. And the camera is going to figure out what would that look like if you physically could move into this hole. And I'm not going to lie, my brain kind of broke when I first saw this. Can you imagine doing this in your living room? An actual 3D hole digging down through your floor. Look at all of the physics that goes along with it. And in a second, they're actually going to jump into the hole. And the headset's going to figure out what would that look like if you actually could move in this space. Ah! It's fascinating. Isn't this wild? All right. So there you go. It's something else. It's such a cool little bit of technology. Is it super simple? Yes, absolutely. It's super simple. But what a nut buster, right? What an idea. All of a sudden, yes, exactly, Johnny. It's like when you walk down the stairs and then you miss that last step, or you expect one more step and then you kind of do that freak out thing where your whole body's like, no! That's exactly what it felt like. So it's a really fascinating thing. Imagine for a second that, rather than, doing the regular Minecraft thing, you're moving around in your space and, building a Minecraft environment in your home. It's simple. It's probably one of the most simple applications of pass-through camera technology. But just think about for a second how wild that is. And then it's all happening inside a contained unit on the fly. Now, in that video, he actually does show his computer. So he's recording sort of what he's seeing on the computer with his Oculus. So it kind of takes away a little bit of the magic, but pretty wild, right? And now you start thinking about, well, okay, so what else can we do on the fly? What else could we do with the visual data around us? What kinds of interesting things? Is it only entertainment? Is it training applications? Is it teaching and whatever? So Creo's saying, I think it'd be really cool if you wanted to redecorate your house. You could have a virtual test. Yeah, this is already sort of becoming a thing with something like, say, mobile cameras, right? Obviously, you can... Obviously, you can take a picture of your room and you can do VR and AR with, units of furniture, things like that. But Groff says he has a hard enough time just getting up and making coffee in the morning. Amen. I don't have any coffee today, and you can see it. I'm looking a little baggy up in here. But. So there are some really fascinating applications for this. And I just think it's really interesting to see. And this is absolutely where headset technology is going, because nobody wants to go backwards to a giant wired headset. Nobody wants to go backwards to the space where the first thing you got to do is figure out where to run all your cables up into the corner, all along the room. Like, nobody wants to figure out how to do that and then put up the sensors, and then you have to see them and they're ugly and they've got wires and, extra power. We're never going back there. I mean, maybe for big industrial applications, sure. But for personal consumption, that's done. We've moved beyond that step. We've got more cool things to build. Now is the time to build. And it's happening. So I wanted to show you guys that because I think it's a really interesting take for a lot of the people who are like, everything the metaverse is doing sucks. And, last week we talked a little bit about some of the beef going on between the idea of Facebook's metaverse and then people from like Second Life who are already, or VR chat, who are already like, dude, we have the most bumpin' raves. We have crazy worlds that we've built. Your world looks stupid and everything you're doing sucks. That's going to be the big struggle from here on out and I've mentioned this a lot on this show, more so in the past than now, is that whether we like it or not, Facebook has a lot of money, a lot of influence, and a lot of information and connections to people. So for people who have never been interested in virtual reality, potentially the only way to reach them and to have them sort of understand or feel comfortable moving into that space is through a trusted medium in their life, which for a lot of people, I hate to say it, it's Facebook. It is. Facebook is this terrifying giant that occupies a space in the time and the life and the world of many, many, many people. And whether we like it or not, they are going to be a large part. They're going to be an arbiter of where future VR looks like and sort of what happens. And yeah, Chris saying they're going to guide it in the vision that they have and not in the way that necessarily everybody wants. And that's so true. So one of the most interesting things, hi Azaria. Oh, how is everything going? You guys have been so busy, but it's lovely to see you. Thank you for pity jumping in on my Discord. And this is why decentralization, absolutely. And so interestingly enough, last week we covered how the founder of Second Life, after, many, many years of quietness and just letting sort of the community run with what they wanted to run with in Second Life, he's come back and he's like, hell, the meta, the Facebook / meta version of the metaverse is probably going to be really harmful. And I would like to see some large competitors out there. And obviously we know they're out there, Somnium Space and Decentraland and Crypto Voxels, which is delightful. It's like Minecraft powered by blockchain on crack. We have things like Deluxe being built right here on Hive. And actually, I think I'll probably have Steve next week or the week after. So we're going to have some more Deluxe talk, which is really cool. If you enjoy these kind of weird, stupid interviews that I do, there we go. If you enjoy those kinds of things, then please stick around because we'll be doing that again. And you can find my last interview with him on a bunch of different channels. If you want, let me know and I'll find the link. But so in any case, this is heating up. This is the next frontier, the frontier that we already knew was there, but that people weren't paying enough attention to. Whatever. Yeah, so everybody's kind of, I see lots of people on the other streams. There are lots of people watching all over the place. It's just now people are actually showing up in the Discord, which means they're showing up down below. You can watch or listen wherever you like. I say this a lot, and just before we jump into the next track, and it's not very interesting, but I'll say it again. My goal with this show and with everything else, oh, thanks, Hypatia. Yes, this is the Canadian special. It's a little chilly up here. We like our wool fashion. Now, I'm in Vancouver and today is beautiful. It's sunny. We're almost out of winter for us, but for the rest of Canada, not so much. Poor Shadows Pub. But yes, I'm rocking the Canadian fashion statement, which is my ears get cold, motherfucker. All right. So, with that being said, one thing that I do want to say is that at the end of the day, the purpose of this show, believe it or not, is not to monetize or make money. Ideally, yeah, I want to grow it, but please remember that wherever you're watching or listening, catching a replay, being here live, whether it's the radio station, whether it's a decentralized option like Vim or Theta or Trovo, whether it is a traditional streaming platform like YouTube or Twitch, I don't care. Please feel comfortable wherever it is that you want to watch or listen. I am not trying to gather up everybody on one platform to inflate my numbers, which arguably is the wrong way to do things, but it makes me feel better. It makes all of you, feel comfortable in the way that you are accessing the content that you want. That's me, hopefully. And we go from there. So don't worry about it. Okay, so I did promise a little bit more music today. We are coming up on the halfway point of the show. We've talked a lot about augmented reality, virtual reality, the pass-through camera, and the changing headset sort of technology that goes along with it. And we've seen a couple of tech demos that are fucking wild. Just digging a hole in Minecraft in your living room and falling into it. Very cool. So let's do this. Let's play a little bit more music, and then we will move on, and we could talk a little bit more about blockchain stuff, or we can literally just have a fireside chat, you, me, just us chickens here in CyberBuzz Radio. So I have a couple of different tracks, but I was thinking, you know what? Let's go back and do some old school Dance with the Dead. So I'm going to go back to a B-Sides album. They just released Driven to Madness last week, and I played you some music off the new album, but old Dance with the Dead is great too. Pretty much everything they put out is fun. It's bouncy. It's great. Unleash the chickens. Yes, this is every time I hear that, I have like PTSD flashbacks to the first time that you dared to like beat up a chicken in Legend of Zelda and then realize that they will absolutely hunt you and murder you. That's what I think of when somebody's like, unleash the chickens! All right. So I'm going to play you a track called Banshee. My name is Crimson Glad. This is CyberBuzz Radio. And we talk about disruptive tech. We play synthwave music. We talk a lot about blockchain. We're kind of Hive centric, but we do a little bit of everything here. Just us. Nobody here but us chickens and David Bowie's balls. All right, there you go. Some old school Dance with the Dead, because why not, fam? Why not? So, hey, my name is Crimson Clad, and this is CyberBuzz Radio. Today has kind of been a VR, AR kind of day, and we've been kind of shooting the shit about all of the different types of cool technology that, you know, was hinted at way back when, and we've kind of been slowly letting into our lives the idea of, yes, I know, what a gift to level up on. Now, you know, it's not quite the same as yesterday where, or day before yesterday where Fork Thief jumped in and gave me the cheers to beers emoji and immediately leveled up. But I owe you a shot. For everybody who's just joining us, thank you. Oh, damn. The Discord's looking a little empty, but I'm glad to have you guys. I see people watching all over the place. So if you're not too busy to spend some time with me, I would love to entertain you with good music and fun tech talk today. But let me get this out of the way. Alrighty then. So before the break, and sort of going into the start of the show, we've been talking a lot about VR and AR, augmented reality, and, you know, the idea of how wireless headsets are already changing the game and how a bit early to be drinking. Nah, it's 1 p.m. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. I'm gonna be fine. But so, you know, the advent of us carrying better and better and better cameras, like, I mean, this is a Pixel. This is a Pixel something. Pixel 6? I don't even know what this is. This is the new Pixel. And so if you haven't seen these, they now come with multiple cameras. You can see I think there's 3 or 4 cameras on the back here. So every shot that you're taking now has information coming from multiple lenses simultaneously, different levels of light, different apertures. You know, we're starting to carry better and better and better cameras around. And what that means is more information that can be pumped into programs to do something with that information. Hey there, Decider. Welcome. Hey, come. Thanks for hanging out. They double as a space heater. Yeah, hell yeah. But, thank you. So, Chris is now hanging out and following as well. Hey, Chris. We're talking about VR and AR. And so the start of the show, we were discussing the changes that VR headsets have kind of brought along now because they're using cameras. Now, the Oculus Quest is kind of the first and foremost to do that. And we've been talking a little bit about how VR and AR are starting to creep their way into public consciousness. Now, in past shows, we've talked a bit about things like training programs, you know, overlays on the ground, like a HUD that will appear at your feet and tell you like, oh, you got to run a little bit further, or you're going this fast, or, you know, get down and start doing push-ups, or things like that. Just these sort of little bits and bobs and apps that are using digital overlays really effectively. And of course, everybody knows Pokemon Go. Everybody knows Pokemon Go. But just before the break, I was showing Minecraft play that was overlaid on a physical reality and actually stepping off a cliff and jumping into a hole dug in your living room in Minecraft, and that being calculated right on the fly. Things like that, and then these new Unity demos where you have 3D things, objects, taking up space, or you have new skins overlaid on existing physical items. So, for example, this couch, if I'm in a headset, may look like a sleeping dragon, or something cool like that. So, all sorts of neat stuff can be done with this technology, and everybody's getting in on it. So, you know, Apple, never to be outdone. Apple, liking to make the most ridiculous, expensive, and sometimes the most useless hardware on the planet, they've actually announced recently that they are going to be putting out specifically peripherals for augmented reality. So not necessarily full VR, but specifically, you know, remember Google Glasses kind of just died? But the idea is there and it's not going away. Apple has actually already started talking about how they are developing peripherals for augmented reality. And there's 4 cameras. Fuck you and your 4 cameras. Apple is going to have 15 cameras because why? I don't know. Because everything has to be more expensive with Apple. More information obviously means you can do more, right? Yeah, Google Glass was too early. Do you guys remember that? Do you remember like a bunch of fucking nerdos with these stupid little like doot, doot, doot things? And, you know, you couldn't really do anything with them. You had to link them up to like a watch, but you could like a phone call or, you know, Google Glass was a little too early. But they were there first. And these are these sort of giant technocracies and their piles of money having impact on the world. So it'll be very interesting to see Apple's 15 camera ridiculous thing. But Microsoft is in on this too. And of course, we're going to get everybody shaking their fists at the giants of you know, the evil giants of technology. But I mean, we can, for a slight moment here on this show, just suspend our disbelief and think about all the cool stuff that could be coming with this. Microsoft also has something along these lines, and they are creating, and they have been working on AR since like 2016. They call it Project Prism. And it is essentially going to be completely latency-free pass-through camera AR. So they've actually been working on this in the background, but you know, not much is spoken about it. But I will show you a couple of different things now, because the applications that people are starting to use. Yeah, I never saw one in the wild too. Did anybody ever see or know an actual person? Clay's just coming here. He doesn't even care about the show anymore. He's got the Splinterlands propaganda. Although here's this sexy Splinterlands character that kind of reminds me of like a combo between like me and Azaria, so I'll allow it. But I don't know if anybody actually saw a Google Glass in real life. I certainly didn't. I kind of imagine, Creo, yeah, that was exactly where I was going to go with this. Depending on where you were, I guarantee you San Francisco was the nerdy, you know, Silicon Valley, probably everybody had them and nobody was actually using them for anything useful. Now here we are today, and, you know, some of us are all rocking the Oculus headsets and enjoying, you know, entertainment and things like that. But so I want to show you guys just one other, I promised you I was going to show you some more applications. And so I want to show you sort of what this, where this goes from here, because we have VR and we have AR. And if you remember back to my, interview with Steve from Deluxe, Disregard Fiat, we were talking about something called XR, which is kind of the place where those two things meet. And unsurprisingly, you have VR, which is virtual reality. You have AR, which is augmented reality. And you have XR, because we're all back in the 90s. You've got XR, which is mixed reality. And the idea of mixed reality is not necessarily even just augmented reality, where you kind of often overlay something, you add a HUD or you add an interface to reality. XR aims to actually create things that you can't necessarily tell aren't real in the actual space that you are moving around in. And so there's a couple of different companies out there who are working on headsets that will do this, and specifically are targeting the idea of the training industry and, to believe it or not, the sales industry, which is a little weird. But as Creo and some other people have been mentioning in today's chat, the idea was creating sort of an ability to connect with items that maybe you haven't bought yet, or things you haven't built yet, or, you know, the idea of kind of creating a brand story for an item that you want to sell. And, you know, it's big, it's a bed or it's a car, and not having people able to see that real item and feel it and understand it in the context of your brand story. So this thought is, okay, well, we're going to pop this incredibly high-powered VR set on you, and you're going to be able to walk around this item, you're going to be able to manipulate it in space, or you're going to be able to experience this item in a setting that you wouldn't normally be able to. So a great example is, I'm going to show you a headset in a second, but here's a great example, and let me know if this gets too boring, because this is a topic that I find fascinating. The idea of a brand story and the idea of why do we buy items that come from companies that aren't mass produced? Why do we look for items that are maybe artisanal or from a small business? Why do we connect with certain products in our lives, right? And so, yes, full disclosure, I did actually go to school for digital marketing and graphic design in the traditional world. But I find that makes me even more excited and skeptical in today's world. Forget it. Magazines, they're gone. We're not doing it that way anymore. Product design like we used to, it's gone. Fuck it. It's all exploded. We're in a new space. And so for me, the idea of, buying a product from a company because of their story, or buying from a brand that has a very well-defined culture and idea behind it, that's something that we gravitate to. And in this day and age, especially, it can be really hard to understand and engage with that story. So I'm going to show you a headset by a company that is specifically targeting essentially small brand or luxury brand retailers. And the idea is, here's a company that creates these super eco-friendly, handmade beds in Japan. And rather than just see the bed in your room, they actually put you in a headset and you can walk around in the forest where the trees were felled to create this bed. And it's a very sort of immersive brand story. And the idea is XR makes it, mixed reality makes it so that you're not 100% sure that it's not real. But so for example, let me grab it here, one sec here. I'm gonna grab you this company's idea. And they're called Varjo. And they just started shipping headsets at the end of December. So hang on one sec, let's flip back to the browser. And so this is one of their demos, and whether or not it's actually functional. Yeah, Disregard Fiat knows what's up. And actually, Disregard Fiat, if you came to the original Deluxe thing, he actually created a mixed reality sort of info portal for people coming to a conference, and they would, use their phones and work in 3D mixed reality to connect with each other, to connect with the project, to connect with the brand story. This is all cool stuff that is happening around Hive as well. But so the idea is if you put on this Varjo and you are in a showroom, you would be able to actually project in the real, in this case, the example is a vehicle. And so imagine for a second, instead of, going out and sitting on a car lot or whatever, you're in a single room and you can pull in any vehicle you want. And it looks and feels so incredibly real. And that's the idea behind this particular headset. And they're talking about the power of passthru and items that actually feel completely solid. So here's an example of an XR capture of their actual headset. And this is this crazy, weird, creepy robotic arm putting a headset into virtual mixed reality and experiencing what that looks like with this pass-through camera, having something that feels fully realized and incredibly real in this space right in front of you, like you could reach out and touch it, and it actually represents a tangible item. It's pretty crazy, and this is going to become so incredibly, it's going to become prevalent. Like, there's no going away from this. We're never coming backwards from this. And this company actually, speaking of sort of the training that we've brought up many times on this show and how the future of sort of training and skill sets are going to change, this company has actually worked with a bunch of different things out there. But say Volvo, they've worked with Volvo so that you can test drive cars in real time. And here's another example of cockpit simulators where instead of just using a fully simulated cockpit, this cockpit of this helicopter is the real thing. So it's very much the same as like what professional pilots would be using in really expensive training programs. But the idea of a pass-through camera in real time, recognizing where to project the mixed reality environment. But the cockpit that you're seeing, instead of using a controller and then having a fake cockpit, you're actually moving using the real buttons, the real joystick, the real space. Everything is actually physically around you. It's the sort of truest application of mixed reality going. It's kind of wild. You put the big VR inside the VR so you can VR while you're VRing. Exactly. And then all of a sudden, what's his name? Ice Cube or Ice T. Fuck, I always get it wrong. Whichever one of them. Ice Guy is going to jump out and be like, boy! Marky keeps asking this. Never. I'm never going to do it. But it's good that you're listening now. You already missed my Minecraft talk. I figured you would have been in here like a dirty shirt. Okay, so exhibit. Thank you, Creo. Jesus. You know, and for the record, I think that actually makes me pretty racist. Because that it sort of makes it sound like I think everybody who is black and hosts a reality show or is an actor looks the same. It's not. I promise. It's that I'm just not hip to anybody who is relevant, as shown by my reference to Pimp My Ride, which I'm pretty sure has been off the air for like 2 decades. So nothing to do with skin color, everything to do with the fact that I literally could not keep up with the times if my life depended on it. All right. Unless it's VR or AR technology, huh? Okay, so we had about 40 minutes left in the show, and we spent a lot of time talking about pass-through cameras. Literally, I've just been yakking on about it, and more people are starting to show up here in the Discord, which is excellent. Many people are watching all around. Let me play another track for you guys. And then if you want, we can talk a little bit about we can talk a little bit more about Hive stuff, or we can just shoot the shit and we can have a free-for-all question and answer, or just best friends hangout period, whatever you guys want. It's your show too. I apologize. The background is still looking really lame today. I couldn't find the controller that has the setup for the lights. And I'm still a little tired, to be quite honest. I slept like a rock last night, let me tell you. After the Enter the Metaverse conference a couple months ago, and then the Web3 conference this week, everybody is now just grabbing a bunch of sort of irrelevant pop culture, sort of black TV host references. And I do know Flavor Flav. And I also think I know Steve Harvey. Is he the guy that took over Family Feud? Yikes. So I'm a little tired, and I am working out how to best grab my talk, but I can go over it if you guys want. I don't know that I actually want to play it live on air. I think that's pretty boring, and it's more fun when we're talking face to face. But for now, let's actually play one more track, and then we'll come back around. Now, I was going to play some Gregorio Franco here, but I think I'm going to skip that just for now. And I'm going to play a track by Calax. I'm going to play a track called Midnight Rage. My name is Crimson Clad. It's not midnight, it's like noon for me, but for some of you, in other places in the world, it could be another time, and depending on when you're watching this replay or listening to this replay in the future, it could be midnight. Listen, in the new sort of neon retro future outrun cyberpunk like dystopia, it's always midnight, and we're always driving Lambos, and hopefully you're always listening to CyberBuzz here on MSP Waves.
This is the police. Community surrounded. Hold order.
There you go. So, a little bit of Cadillacs Midnight Rage. My name is Crimson Clad, and this is CyberBuzz Radio. And today we have been not very Hive blockchain centric. Doesn't matter, it's okay. But we've been talking a lot about VR and AR. We kind of started out the show with my astrological sign and also with my opinion on the Canadian truckers. High five, go team. But also, you know, we were talking a lot about sort of the future possibilities of really simple things that would be so fascinating and that are going to become really prevalent. The emphasis on the wrong syllable are going to become really prevalent in our day-to-day lives, probably whether we like it or not. And, you know, again, this show is not a negative show or tries not to be. Listen, we all get caught up in a little bit of negativity from now and time to time. But yeah, we try to kind of have an open mind towards what are the great possibilities that are coming down the pipe and what are the scary pitfalls that we need to kind of be aware of and mitigate and be sort of mindful of, because technology can indeed be dystopian. And you know, this is what the show's all about, punctuated by good music and hopefully a lot of fun for you guys. So earlier this week, I spoke at the Web3 conference, and there were some hopefully interesting speakers there. I know I got a lot of feedback. My messages exploded this week. But sort of, yay, more Russian bots, hurrah. You know, it's been fascinating because there were quite a few talks on how we sort of move around in a space where, with an open and transparent blockchain ledger or a connected ecosystem like Hive or an immutable ledger that can't be changed, and a decentralized space where anybody can come in, anybody can develop. What does data privacy look like? What are some of the pitfalls of this type of, you know, this type of world that we are building? Because obviously we want to move towards Web3. We want to shake off some of the shackles of these technocracies that have become crucial to the way that we share data. And, you know, we are moving more and more and more to synchronous interactions versus, you know, either read-only, write-only, asynchronous stuff. It's important that that becomes more decentralized and that people have more control over their interaction in that space. And, you know, Hive blockchain, whether you guys come here to hear about it or not, is a really great example of steps in the right direction. And we're pretty passionate about it. So yeah, you know, it's lovely because the conference was based in UK time. So I definitely was running on no sleep for a couple of days. I was initially supposed to speak on Wednesday. That didn't work out. The event coordinators needed me to speak on Thursday instead. So essentially, I went for a couple days without sleep. I was on a totally wonky schedule. And then I only got 15 minutes to explain all of Hive, but also kind of hit a topic that they were interested in and that they wanted to kind of hear more about. And so that was really interesting. And so the Coles notes on it was essentially, I was talking a little bit about why Hive as sort of a connected ecosystem, as sort of an onboarding ramp, but also a information sharing ramp, why people understand value on Hive and are more prepped to understand digital and crypto value in general is because of the way that Hive works. And I was talking sort of about the three pillars of that, which is community, identity, and ownership. And these are all things that we recognize and understand so easily in the physical world, right? I know who I am. I know what I own. I know what physical items I can touch and hold. I understand who I am in a physical space where I occupy it with a meat sack, and I drive this meat sack with certain intentions and goals and needs. And the people around me, they're physical, and I can touch them and see them and understand them and interact with them. Like, those are all the things that make me understand value. I understand my phone is valuable because other people also see that it's valuable. It's worth money. It allows me to do things. I could trade this with you because you are probably also interested in a nice piece of technology. You know, in the physical space, ownership, identity, and community make a lot of sense. We just get them. And so things that we find valuable, we often, for one reason or another, tie back to our ownership of the item, our identity around ourselves, or the community around us. These are the things that help us understand what is valuable, right? That's hard to do on the internet. That's hard to do in a not physical medium. That's hard to do. And we see it by people who aren't in the crypto space now, who are like, why is the picture of a rock selling for millions of dollars? Now, for the record, I personally don't really get it either, but I do understand why NFTs are important. I do understand why a move towards decentralized ledgers and decentralized technology matters. And I understand really well, partially because of my journey through Hive. And Dibblers is like, it is a beautiful rock, god damn it. You're right, my bad. Just in an absolutely inspiring shade of dove gray. But, part of my understanding and part of my true passion for decentralization and crypto came from this journey into understanding the technology of Hive better and for being here for the birth of Hive and connecting with people. And my thoughts on what community is very different. And the internet did that for many of us, right? The idea of community in person, but also these incredible communities that we've built in space and time. Look at us here every week having these shows and these conversations, entertaining and engaging with each other. Whether you guys like it or not, if you're here and you're hanging out and you're watching or listening to CyberBuzz Radio, you're part of my community. You're a very real, tangible person. And in a lot of ways, even though I've never seen you or touched you or can't even confirm that you exist, you have an identity to me. You're part of my community and you have a unique identity. And I understand that as part of the reason that this connection is valuable. It's wild. And then I understand also that for many of you, you may have a blockchain address, you may have digital assets. I understand the concept of digital ownership. I understand, especially in the Hive ecosystem and the blockchain crypto space, how important it is that I can prove that I own what I own and that you own what you own. And I know that if I want to transact value with you, whether it's measured in fiat dollars or not, that if I send to that identity that you have on the blockchain, that I know that it'll go to you and only you. You control your keys. You control that identity. You're in the community that I want to engage with, and you and I can transact value. Whatever that value may be. If it's me and Clay, it's a Splinterlands card. If it's me and Azaria, it's an NFT version of one of her incredible music tracks. If it's somebody like Tori's out there writing an incredible new piece on gaming, then it's a tip that I'm going to send to him because gosh darn it, that's a great fucking post. If it's Groff hanging out here and watching with me in my community, hanging out, it's me sending him a loot box over on Trovo. Whatever the case may be. These are all very digital ideas, but they're incredibly important and they're shaping everything to do with our future, everything. And so this was, hugs I think exist and definitely the love token does as well. But so the reality is this is what the core of my talk was about is, you know what? We have all the tech people already. We have all the, freedom, money, sovereignty seeking people already. We have the degens and the financial bros. Those people all get it, but they're not a huge subsection of the world's population. So if we know that we want to move people away from these terrible sort of Web 2.0, corporately controlled, centralized platforms, how do we help them understand value in the context of a digital world that kind of goes against everything that we've always understood? When the answer is these sort of interpersonal connections, and an ecosystem like Hive really reinforces them. And for a lot of people who are like, I'm never going to do, decentralized liquidity and lending on a fucking whatever DeFi platform. That makes no sense. It's stupid. Internet being magic money. They could absolutely turn around and be like, but I'm 1,000% gonna open up some Splinterlands cards and battle you today. And they're gonna get that. And that is a stepping stone into some of this other stuff. So yeah, my talk essentially was just kind of reminding people that ETH isn't the only blockchain that can do this. And in a lot of cases, people in the audience were shocked, and I was getting a ton of messages. So I'm looking forward to kind of sharing the talk, even though I personally believe it's not 100% my best work. And I wish that I had a little more time to really elaborate on things like tokenized communities. But I will go out there and try to find it for you guys. And if you were there live, great. Just pretend it was awesome and never watch it again, because, you know, the shine is off the rose. The more information you get, right? Absence makes the heart go fonder. So that's kind of where we're at today. That's me. Thank you, Picata. Hi. So cool to have you joining the community with your awesome digital identity. So here's the deal. That's sort of the planned topics that I had today. I have a couple more cool tech demos from people who are working on interesting things in the mixed reality AR VR space. And then I thought we could talk about whatever you guys want. So thanks for coming to hang out with me today. And I do have a little bit more music. But quickly, I'll show you one or two more things that kind of hammer home the fact that mixed reality and augmented reality can just be fun and interesting too. So again, we'll avoid the topic of potentially brainwashing and corporate control and living your life as a slave inside a goo bottle while locked in virtual reality to keep you complacent. We'll try not to go down that dark path today, but maybe I can show you a couple more demos. And so one I've got up on the screen here, I think is really cool. Does it do anything at all? Absolutely not. Is it interesting? Absolutely. So the demo that I have up on the screen is from the Oculus again. And we've been talking about the passthru camera and how wireless headsets and virtual reality and augmented reality now are basically powered by information that surrounds you in the real world. And these cameras collect that information. Is the goo temperature controlled? Absolutely not. You'll be happy with what you get. Now be quiet and go back to kicking your feet and powering my crypto miner. Unless we can figure out some little wire that goes into the back of your head that just makes your brain think that the goo is temperature controlled. You know, I haven't worked out all the details yet. Just get back in the bottle. So the demo on screen I'm going to show you is the same sort of thing. Somebody looking at their room in real time. And why this matters is because depth of items and objects, 3D mapping, and there's absolutely nothing about this environment that is stored in the device. The device is calculating this stuff on the fly and then is applying effects to it. It doesn't sound that amazing, but it's doing it twice over because it is actually mimicking what your brain does. It's looking at two different angles of the room. It's cross-referencing that information to understand how far ahead of me is that chair? What level is the floor at? Where is that door? And in this case, this is a tech demo of someone who is overlaying matrix code onto the real world around them. And so on the fly, it's a little hard to see, but on the fly, the entire world is dissolving into that matrix-styled code that we often talk about on this show and is being calculated and overlaid on themselves and the room around them. Forget it, man. It's absolutely wild. So there you go. This is the kind of thing that is coming. Is it useful? Hey, Sepson, is it terribly useful? Maybe not. Is there anything in particular that you could do with this? Yeah, exactly. He's beginning to see. He is the one. Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really interesting. And this is becoming more and more possible. And what are the things that developers are going to do with this? And I actually have another one that is that's quite cool. Let me quickly flip over, and then I promise we'll do a little bit more music before we finish today. But that's like the Matrix mixed reality. This one here is pretty freaking cool. 1 second here. I'm going to quickly pop this up. And so this one, again, does it actually have anything to do with anything? The answer is no, not really. But so this one is showing a guy wearing his headset. I hope that the Discord bot hasn't died. We'll see if Clay's dying here, and we'll kind of get a feel for it. But so here's another example, and this one is literally an overlay that syncs to music, and it takes the information of the room around you and turns it into a living, breathing sort of audio visual effect. So, in this show, for example, I've got some stuff on the screen that when I'm playing music, it's moving and it's doing, a visualizer in the same sort of time with the music. Well, here is an AR, VR, mixed reality overlay that actually just essentially syncs your world with the music around you. So here you go. Go. This guy's living his best life. So, it's interesting. Yeah, at the rave with no rave. And, for whatever reason, this may be useful or not. There are ups and downs with this, or an acid trip with no acid. Yeah, exactly. There's going to be a lot of people who are like, God damn it, this is bad because people will never leave their houses, or, this is bad because we'll be scared of interaction. But at the same time, like, think about maybe being somebody who, maybe you can't get into a venue nearby because you're in a wheelchair and it's not accessible. Little things like that. Like, there's a lot of reasons why some of this, it would just be fun and interesting. Here's this dude sitting in his not awesome home. I'm so sorry, bro. Yeah, everybody in chat. I can't believe it. Everybody's laughing. Picata's laughing his head off. Dibblers is like, I don't even want to leave my house. Like, bring on the goo. Sepson's going, woo, no more human contact. But, like, not to throw this bro under the bus, but here he is in his computer room. It's tight. It's cramped. He's got his, like, 1970s wood cupboard, and he's just bumping it out to Eurotrash techno, having a time. The lights are going, he's doing this, and all of the colors and sort of a visualizer is being projected onto his actual reality. It's interesting, it's cool, it's fun, and it's being done in real time. And that's sort of the takeaway from today's show, is that we're already collecting this visual info to help us calculate position and understanding, in physical space. We're doing that now. Forget the sensors and all the other shit. This is way better technology. It makes way more sense. But if you're already going to have that visual data, what are interesting things you could do with it? And in this case, it's it's fuck it, throw a rave. Humans, instead of dealing with their actual reality, since the dawn of time, usually will play some music and throw a banging party. If it's just us, too bad. All right. Yeah. Grof's saying this is kind of exactly what we've been doing with all the lockdowns for the last couple years. Truth. Big truth. Okay, friends. So we have kind of like hit the wall of my planned topics for today. So I'll play one more track and then we'll be right in sort of the ass end of the show today. It's cool that many of you guys ended to show up in the Discord so that the overlay would look a little less empty. Thank you for that. And many of you guys, I know this is not a call out. I'm appreciative to you. Many of you watch and listen around many different platforms and you don't interact in chat. And that's A-okay. You don't have to, because of course CyberBuzz and my other show, Full Force Radio, they are meant to be something you can sit down, you can pop on, you can listen to while you're doing whatever. But lots of people enjoy the interaction, so whichever way you buzz, thank you for being here. And I promise I'll stop sucking and driving most of you away. Because I know that is also part of it, is just these days, everybody's kind of sick and tired of me and is like, no, thank you. So, we'll work it out. We'll make it happen. Now, one thing I did want to kind of mention is, unfortunately, for example, last week's, or this week's CyberBuzz Radio, went fine, but then Full Force Radio got blocked. Bye, Zaria! Full Force Radio got blocked on YouTube, and that happens a lot, and that's fine, I don't care. But one of the things that makes it tricky then is for people who want replays, I have options. When they block it fully, you can't even see the video. It's like I never did the stream. And YouTube, even though they're like, hey, all you got to do is cut out the stuff we don't like and then we'll put it back on. That's not how it works. YouTube actually doesn't let you. And so, for example, in this case, my last episode, yeah, YouTube is the worst. Agreed. But for a lot of people, this is 1,000% where they prefer to see stuff, right? And so it's like, gosh darn it. And so when I go to like, say, my videos, which I'm trying to do, but it's not letting me right now, bollocks. When I go to my videos, I can see that I did this. I can see it's got all of the live chat alongside it. It's got all of the stats on views. And so then, well, the problem with like Trovo Master Race and other platforms is unfortunately they don't store the recordings and you can't watch them back indefinitely. And that is definitely sort of this this interim space that I still need help with. I can't right now, you know, host every single one of my own. De-indexed Yuku can be found via DuckDuckGo. Interesting. So does DuckDuckGo happen via the API? I don't know if it's just de-index though. They literally block it. So maybe let's have a test, right? You can go looking for last week's episode. But where I'm going with this is, so for this last show, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to re-upload it. I'm going to have to edit out all the parts they don't like. But what happens when I re-upload it is all of this awesome live chat from you guys is gone. And all of the watch stats and play stats on it is gone as well. And while that's not really that important, the chat and everything else, it does kind of take away from some of the enjoyment of rewatching and re-listening to many of these episodes. So how do you feel like how do you enjoy? Yeah, so there you go. I'm just looking here. It does not have yesterday's episode. So that sucks. That's too bad. We'll have to check it out. But looking at the more videos tab, it does not have episode 174. Holy shit. It does. Wowzers. Check this out. Patient Zero is using DuckDuckGo. You guys have to tell me if you can see this or only I can. Wow, this is exciting. Here you go. So check it out. Here's my screen. And sure enough, right here, Full Force Radio, episode 174, 225, 26 views because it got taken down instantly. Normally we're up in the 50, 60, 100 views. But this one here, episode 174, this is not visible via another browser. Can you click on this episode? If you guys click Patient Zero's link and you go through DuckDuckGo, can you watch this video, episode 174? That is blocked. That is blocked in the entire world, that episode from last night. So that is interesting. You guys can see it. Can you view it? Fascinating. Wow, Patient Zero, that's cool. I knew quite a bit about DuckDuckGo, and I use it and I use Start Page, but this is interesting. How cool. You guys report back to me and let me know. In any case, yeah, there you go. Son of a biscuit. You can see that it happened, but you can't have it. Bastards, right? So here's the deal. That basically got hidden as it was happening, which super sucked. If you weren't already watching, if you weren't one of the 30 people already watching, if you were one of the 30 people who was already watching live, you could not find or see that stream. Now that's fine. I don't mind. I know very specifically that I break all of YouTube's rules and that live radio is not something that they want you to do. No problem. And I'm willing to play ball with them because of course I have all of these other places and the radio station itself to connect to you with. But for people who want to go back and check out the show later on, this becomes a problem. So what I'm going to do with this particular episode in this case is I'm going to download it. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to re-upload it according to their rules. And you're going to lose all of the history and all of the live chat information. Is that okay? Does that suck? How does that feel for somebody? Are you somebody who watches these back later or listens to these back later? Or, is it just you want to watch it live and then never listen to it again? No answer is wrong. But for me, this is a little frustrating, and I'm trying specifically to really work on getting, new thumbnails and putting the artists in the description and all this stuff. And it does sometimes feel a little shitty when I don't get a chance to kind of have this come back to you guys. Like yesterday, I actually did the full write-up. We had the proper new thumbnail go on there, like the whole thing. And now I'm not allowed to edit it or do anything with it. So I kind of have to play by their rules. And this is what we often talk about on this show. These corporate technocracies have a stranglehold on us. If we want to be able to see these things on YouTube, I must follow their rules. Now, there are quite a few other options. Yes, there's Odyssey, and then there's also, obviously, here on Hive, there's ThreeSpeak. There are other options. And of course, at the end of the day, unpopular opinion, I am doing live radio and I am playing music by artists who haven't necessarily given me permission. Now, for the radio station, we've paid for a license, but that license doesn't allow you to play music on demand. And that's the difference. When you are replaying one of my episodes on a video, technically that music is being played on demand. And that's where we are hitting sort of the wall on this stuff. And that's fair. As an artist, you're not necessarily being compensated for the times that people are listening to your music on my show. But the trade-off is, of course, in many cases, I'm helping you find new artists. I'm helping you find, new music. And the hope is that you're going to enjoy them and go out and consume their work on your own. And in many cases, I know that's the case for all of you. And the funny thing is, in many cases, I know the artists are fine with it, but it is the label that owns the sort of licensing and the actual ability to say, here's where music can go, here's where it can't. And it's a big muck for sure. So I'm definitely going to look at this. And, this is going to become a reason why in the future, I'll probably never be able to monetize this show in a traditional way. And so once again, here's another reason why Web3 and decentralized options make a difference. These shows are labors of love. They are passion and they are, the things that I love, that I want to share and talk about with you, and songs that just get me going, and, things that I want to bring into your life because they're in mine and I think they're amazing. But the thing is, of course, and we talk about this a lot on shows, and often it comes with an apology, is that I very rarely can put the effort and the love into these shows that I want because they're actually incredibly expensive. The amount of money and time that I put into just doing these shows far eclipses what they make. And in a lot of, more sane people's worlds, they would be like, well, you shouldn't do the show then. That's dumb. And that's fair, but that's not 1,000% how I feel. And for many of us, Corbin, first. All right. Sure thing, bro. That becomes really interesting and really difficult. So the amount of money between equipment, my time, especially all of the things I buy music to play for you guys. I pay for services to be able to kind of do the restream thing properly. Like, I lose a lot of money on this show, and do not think that's me saying you guys got to pay me. But you know what I mean? So here we are in a space where this is becoming more and more important to content creators, and why places like Hive, why sort of other options like Trovo and Theta and Vim and YouTube, or not YouTube, Odyssey and ThreeSpeak and all of these other options become so important, is because when you and I want to have this connection, and when value needs to be transacted between us, or when I want to play a song by an artist and make sure that you go and buy music from them, but in between the record label's like, well, they can't hear this song, it's very unhelpful, and it's actually hampering the ability for all of us to kind of transact value the way that we naturally would, and create a bustling marketplace and create a great, healthy economy, artistic economy, entertainment economy, a community that's actively stopping us. And so it is very tricky for me. So what I'm hearing from you guys is that you're okay with the idea of me pulling down videos and re-uploading them, even though they won't necessarily contain the music and all of the live chat and a lot of sort of the sparkle from them is gone. And that sucks, but they'll be there. And so that's really important to me. And the only way that we continue to kind of tear down these walls is we have shows like mine and we use different platforms and we explore all these options. So it sounds like that's cool. It does suck. It's a little blow to the ego when, you see you have 30, 40, 50 people who have watched a show live, and then you've got to rip that down and start from zero, and the show is gutted and it's only half of what it used to be, and all the live interaction is stripped away from it, and it just looks like another video that nobody watched. It's tough, but that's kill the ego, right? Kill the ego, feed the soul. So it sounds like you guys are okay with it. I'm going to do my absolute best to try and keep up with, yeah, I know, Trin, I'm sorry. And so there you go. For a lot of people, it can be really, really tricky, right? And especially depending on where you live in the world, where your content distribution and your sort of like, CDNs, as we call them, content distribution networks, infrastructure, it's all kind of geared towards these big companies. And so we're working our hardest to kind of make it work, right? But my promise to you is that as I'm gaining more time, which, again, January's been a bit of a failure, is that I will kind of make these things more accessible. And often when I finish a show, I'm exhausted and then I don't catch up with it. And then, let it go for a week. And then I'm like, oh, it's old. Nobody wants to do anything. And then I just don't catch up with it. I'm going to make an effort. I want to have this sort of updated back catalog for people wherever you may be now or wherever you're listening or whatever is going on, that I make it accessible to you, because I think a lot of these discussions, hopefully you'd like to come back to them someday and listen to them again and be entertained. But who knows? Now, with that being said, that's on me, not on you guys, and the effort will be made. And yeah, of course, as we were saying, Theta's trying to solve that, Vim's trying to solve that, 3Speak's trying to solve that, Library and Odyssey are trying to solve that. Everybody recognizes the inherent problems that we have right now in our sort of dilution of value when it comes to music and art specifically. That is why the blockchain space and decentralized everything is so important. So we will prevail, and it'll kind of look dumb and weird at first, but you guys know and I know what we're here for, and hopefully you can find and access the things that you want. And yeah, I mean, for me, doing these shows has exposed me to so many more artists and topics and community members. And I feel like there's so much value in them. So maybe they don't pay me, and maybe YouTube hates them, and maybe Twitch gives me strikes and my content gets pulled down. But that's why we're exploring all these different options. I will find a way to get Thursday night's Full Force radio show for you. And I will make a concerted effort to make sure that all the CyberBuzzes are up to date and you can get whatever you want. I suck, but things will always get better. So as we're hitting the end of the show, I'm so stoked to have had you guys today. We had a really great talk about VR, AR, mixed reality, and bright futures for that tech. But we've hit it. We're done. We have run out of time. Check the full schedule at mspwaves.com. Find some more shows, and I will see you next week.